right, welcome to another episode of Vinny Presents. And today in studio, well, at least not in this studio, but in a studio somewhere, we have the wonderful Jazzy Italian herself, Vanessa Racci. Vanessa, thank you for joining us.
Ciao, thanks for having me.
Well, I just want to start by saying I had the pleasure, honor, and delight to hear you in person when I went to New York, and it was the cutting room, and our mutual friend, the very wonderful Paul Costabile, and
Yes.
I was able to hear you in person. I just want to tell you, I mean, I was very, very impressed by your voice. I thought your performance
Oh,
was
thanks.
amazing. And I said, I would love to have you as a guest, and I'm glad you agreed. And so here you are.
Yes, and it was also wonderful meeting you and learning more about what you do. I obviously you didn't perform that night, but I learned after the fact.
Yeah, that's one of the nights I'm not doing my little my little spiel or my little act.
Uh-huh.
Um, but so tell us a little bit about yourself. Now, you a Jersey native? Tell us everything.
Yeah, I'm actually a New York native,
Okay.
and I was born and raised in an Italian American family, and I lived with my grandfather, Francesco Crescentelli, say that 5 times fast, um, who was of Barese descent, and it just influenced a lot of what I do because as a millennial, growing up with someone living in your house from born in 1913, it really influenced my music choice because he would play, Connie Francis, Dean Martin, Frank Sinatra, Lou Monte, Louis Prima, who else? Al Martino, all of those voices throughout the house. And so I just grew up learning like vintage jazz and Italian classics, and it inspired what I do. So that's why I'm like, I have an affinity for retro attire. I'm not dressed like that today. I'm modern, but and also retro music. So
That's wonderful. I mean, that's typical of maybe someone years ago, but it's still beautiful to hear that you grew up in that environment. It's kind of fading to an extent, which is scary. But then again, there's a lot of young people now that are embracing a lot of the old school Italian American, not just music in general, but also jazz. And a
mhm.
quick shout out to Al Martino, who actually grew up about less than 2 miles away from where I grew up in South Philly.
Oh,
Um,
really?
yeah, so Al Martino grew up in Philly as well as Mario Lanza, and I believe Mario Lanza is the one that helped Al Martino out with his career. So it was pretty cool.
Oh, no way. How cool. And
Yeah,
there's
Mario Lanza.
another, Joe Venuti is another like famous jazzy Italian from Philly, I believe.
Yeah,
He was like
yeah.
a hot violinist.
Unless I'm mistaken, I think he went by Eddie Lang. I would think that
Oh,
was his
yes,
stage name.
that's right. His stage name. Yep, yep.
And he grew up 3 blocks away from where I grew up. And
Oh, how
Lanza grew up.
funny.
Mario Lanza grew up about 4 blocks away. So it's all that little Italian market area in South Philly.
Yeah.
So
Oh, wonderful. I love that.
if you ever get to Philly, there's a big mural of Eddie Lang near the Saloon, which is a very famous restaurant in Philly. But anyway, yeah, jazz is an interesting thing. I think that it's. I don't know. I'd be lying to you if I said that I knew everything about it. But I think that
Sure.
it sounds like a culmination of different, Italian, African American, the New Orleans influence, the immigrant
Yes.
influence.
Yes. And so because I grew up with jazz and Italian music, I love them both. And so I combined the genres in my first album, Italiana Fresca. Where is it? I have it over here. So that's a crappy one. Hold on. Italiana Fresca,
Nice,
which you can
nice.
find on Spotify or at wherever you stream. And it just celebrates Italian classics. My grandfather taught me with modern jazz arrangements. And I was touring with the album across the US and I performed in New Orleans. And it was there that I went to like the Jazz Museum and the Italian American Museum. And I learned how much Italian Americans were ingrained in jazz. And my hypothesis from my research is that it's probably because when we came to this country, we were a discriminated um, ethnicity, and a lot of Sicilian Americans immigrated to New Orleans. And so they were living in the same neighborhoods as the oppressed Black population in New Orleans and often formed bands together. And I think that's what led to Italian Americans being so steeped in jazz and to greats such as Louis Prima. And that led to, people such as Chick Corea and John Pizzarelli and Harry Warren. And so for my second album, Jazzy Italian. I just I decided to explore Italian Americans who made their mark on jazz in America, and a lot of people enjoy it, and they're surprised, like, oh wow, Harry Warren is an Italian American. He wrote At Last. He Italians wrote Sunday Kind of Love, like all these classic songs that are part of our American songbook. The fabric of our American songbook were written by Italian Americans, and so I just wanted to celebrate that.
That's wonderful. I mean, it's fascinating too when you start to learn about the origins of a lot of this music and the singers, and sometimes they're a little obscure, but then when you start to really do your research, it's a beautiful discovery. So, how did you get like now? You're, obviously, you know, with your grandfather and the influences in your family, that sort of gave you a base. But what? Tell us how you got from enjoying it to starting to get in front of a group of people or on a stage and actually.
Sure. Yeah, so I actually started my singing career in musical theater. And so my first experiences in front of people were on a stage. I would sing all the time in my house. And so my parents wanted to nurture that. And they're like, why don't you audition for local theater? And so I just started auditioning for local theater. And then I wound up doing professional off Broadway theater at the age of 12, and getting like paid for it, which was kind of cool. And I won a Helen Hayes Award at the age of 18. So I was like, oh, I think I really want to make this my career. And then I told my parents, this is what I want to do for a living. And they were like, oh, no, no, singing's not a real job. And I was like, what do you, what do you mean it's not a real job? I'm making money from it. I'm doing it. And they're like, no, it's just a hobby. It's not a real job. Go do business or something stable. And I was like, okay. So I didn't know any better, and I went to school for business, and I studied voice simultaneously. And I wound up getting like a corporate career. I was like a marketing executive at PepsiCo, and I did very, very well, made a lot of money, but it wasn't like who I was. I always felt like I was acting or pretending to be somebody else. Like I have all this creative energy, and um, to be stifled every day or stifling it was hard. So I recorded my album simultaneously, like while I was working there, and I wanted to see if there was any take or interest. And the first year I booked 10 shows, the second year I booked 20 shows, the third year I booked 40, and I was traveling around the country while being a marketing executive at PepsiCo, working 9 to 8, having a team of 5 people that I was responsible for. And then I said, you know what, this is too much. I got bronchitis, I think like 4 times that year, because like my body just couldn't handle it all.
Sure.
And so I decided to make a choice, and I left corporate America. And I've never been busier. It was a little scary because I left during the pandemic, and my parents were like, "Are you crazy?" And I'm like, honestly, it's scarier to me to not try it, to just live my days out in corporate America and never really be fulfilling my passion. And so I decided to leave, and I'm just really thankful I did that.
Listen, I think that there's a major lesson to be learned, and you did all the right things like a good Italian girl should, and you listen to your family as we all learned that we should. But it's you have that repressed creativity, and it's going to bug each day of your life if you don't do something with it. So I give you a lot of praise for that, and it's not easy. It's absolutely almost the most difficult thing you can do is to step out of the comfort zone. Stability is important, especially like if you have family and kids and things like that. It's very difficult to do that. It's difficult to do it no matter if you're single, but it's you took the leap of faith. But I noticed something that you said that was very that really stuck out is that you did what 10 the first year, 20. So you did it gradually,
I
which
kind
I
of
think is a
tested it.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a great lesson for someone that's listening because that's probably what you should do. You should test it out. Don't just quit your day job. Test it out, and then see if you could just transition to making it full time.
Absolutely, absolutely. And of course, I had a very supportive husband who encouraged me to do it, um, and it was hard for me because I've been working and it's like having a job and paying for things myself since I was 12. So it was really hard to be like, oh my gosh, I have to rely on you to pay the bills now. And what if I don't make enough money? What if, like, it was very, very scary, very, very scary. But he's like, don't worry, it'll be fine. You deserve this. You worked hard. You have savings, to fall back on. You can always go back to corporate. And I was like, okay. And then I did it.
Beautiful, beautiful. And this is
Yeah.
your full-time life now, correct?
It's my full-time life. Yeah. Yeah.
That's beautiful.
And I
Listen, that's
also
great.
teach voice as well. So I teach for some supplemental income as well.
Hey, listen, that's a beautiful thing. I mean, but see, now you've got the liberty, but it's also comes with a lot of responsibility too. It's not easy. There's a lot of unknowns that can happen, but
Yeah.
you're doing it. I give you a lot of respect for that.
Thank you. Thank you. And I mean, I am thankful for my experience at PepsiCo because it taught me how to think like a business owner and run a small business, because basically that's what it is. It's a small business, right? I hire musicians. I commission producers to record my album, etc. I'm doing my own accounting. I hire lawyers. Like it's you kind of have to understand business as well. Unfortunately, in the creative world, um, unless you're famous and you have your own team of people. But if if you're doing it as a smaller artist like me, you've got to do everything yourself.
We had a really cool studio here in Philadelphia. There were several, I mean, but the one that was the most famous was Sigma Studio that people used to come. It's in Chinatown in Center City, Philadelphia, and it's obviously been closed for many years. But that was where, like, David Bowie, you name it, anybody who was anybody in the recording world, they used to come to Sigma Studios. If you look it up, it's a pretty interesting story. But Philly's rich with a lot of with a lot of singers and history and
Yeah.
Gamble and Huff and I mean, we had so many singers, forget it. But it's a beautiful thing, in my opinion, just like food, which I notice you like to enjoy too on a lot of your Instagram reels, which is beautiful. I love those reels. Is the spiritual connection between singing and food, but it's really really Italian. That whole expression and the way you could just really you just turn on a song and it just totally changes your day.
Absolutely. It definitely, like, every day is, I'm not going to say it's like easy, but it's encouraging and motivating and uplifting, because when you're singing every day, it's almost like therapy, right? Like, because it's literally therapy, because it's literally good for your body chemically, because a lot of people, when they're stressed, they're told to do deep breathing, right? Inhale, exhale, or do like slow exhalations. And that's essentially what singing is, right? You're holding a note, you're exhaling very, very slowly. And so it actually is like healing for your body.
It's healing also for the person listening. The person says that's really a
Hmm.
beautiful point. Now, tell me some of the
Yeah.
challenges you go through on a daily, weekly basis. What are
Oh
some of your
man.
challenges?
Ah, being respected as a woman doing
Yeah,
yeah, like some people feel like, because I'm dressing up all pretty to be on stage and sing, that it's like an invitation to like kiss me or something. I'm like, yo, 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 back up.
those little old Italian guys.
Yeah, they're ruthless. I was at a festival once, and this old man came up to me, and of course I have a soft spot for older men because of I had a good relationship with my grandfather. And he comes up to me, and he's like, "You're so beautiful. You remind me of Connie Francis. Can I give you a kiss?" And so I give him my cheek, and then he grabs my face and tries to kiss me on the lips, and I was like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa!"
Gosh.
So yes, so dealing with that is challenging, but I always try to have my husband there as like a buffer, but sometimes he can't always control everything that's happening. And Also just being respected, because the jazz world is still very dominated by men, like the people that own the jazz clubs, the people that book you, the musicians that you hire, right? And so getting the same respect as a man is challenging. I don't know why, but it still is these days.
Yeah.
But people who know me, like they've learned to respect me, but sometimes it doesn't always come easily. And I don't know. I'm a pretty like organized person every day, so like doing the work, I kind of like it. I like checking things off the list and like writing 1,000 emails.
Right.
And I do get rejected, yes, but for every 4 rejections I get, a somebody who's interested. So I don't mind the rejection. It's just like part of the process. You know what I mean? It's like, all right, well, I'll get something, the next one will pick me up, So
Right. And the thing about those that reject you, they always regret it later.
that's right. That's right. And there are people who have rejected me through the years that are now calling me because I've have more of a name on social media. I have more of a name in the Italian American community. I just got asked to sing again at the NIAF gala in New York City.
Nice.
My album did really well and is programmed on Seriously Sinatra now, and so I'm getting traction, and so more people are calling me, and part of me wants to say like, remember when you rejected me, but I don't. I hold it in, and I was like, oh.
You should try to connect with Joe Piscopo. He does the Sinatra thing in New York.
Yes. We actually performed at an event together at Casa Belvedere in Staten Island. So he knows of me, I know of him, and
Yeah.
we perform in the same events and circles, which is great. He's
Yeah,
awesome.
I began a little friendship with him when he was in Philly a couple times, and we kind of lost touch over the years, whatever. But he was
Yeah.
always, growing up, I always loved, Saturday Night Live. Obviously, he was on that,
Yeah.
and Wise Guys. I think I mentioned that every podcast because I also do screenwriting. We're coming out with a short film this spring.
Right.
That's a mob comedy, but that a lot of Joe Piscopo has always been one of those wonderful comedic characters. And I love what he's doing with Sinatra, and he's very successful at it. So I hope you guys link up.
Yeah, and he's had me on his radio show a couple of times, and he's been very complimentary towards me. Like when I sang at the Columbus Day Parade, he is the commentator on ABC 7,
Yeah.
and so he was like, "Wow, that was great!" And I was like, "Yeah, thanks, Joe. Thanks, Joe."
I think is it him and Maria Bartiromo? I
Maria
think they both.
Bartiromo, and then I forgot there's a third person. I totally forgot. Forgive me, but there's a third person as well.
Well,
Yeah,
so now tell us about like where it's led you. I'm sure you did a lot of traveling with this.
yeah. So all the Italian pockets of the United States. So I've been to Florida, Chicago, New Orleans. I'm going to New Orleans in March, actually, on the second and third to perform at an Italian festival. So if any NOLA people listening, come and check me out. San Francisco, San Jose, California, Arizona, Reno, Columbus, Ohio, Seattle. Yeah. So all the like the corners of the the
Well, I hear
edges of
Well, I hear the Northeast region is pretty dense with Italian immigrants, and like
Oh,
when
absolutely.
we talk about Boston and we talk about Connecticut, apparently has a large
Yes. Oh, yes,
Italian.
I've been to Boston too as well, and Connecticut, of course. But I'm just trying to tell you all the places that I went that were furthest. But yes, of course, New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, are like I get a lot of gigs in that area, in those areas. And then Philly, I actually performed once, and I have interest from Philly Italia and the Pete Spina. I think we were supposed to do something at the St. Nick's Festival this year. So hopefully that pans out and you'll see us.
Yeah, absolutely. St. Nick's, they have a great festival. It's one of the most authentic ones. It's a neighborhood festival. So there's the Italian festival that's in the Italian market, which is like I said, which is where I grew
Yes.
up. That's huge. The St. Nick's is awesome. It's always like it's a more intimate setting, and it's a lot of fun. That's in my neighborhood as well, and that's a really fun
Oh,
time too.
cool.
So you'll definitely enjoy Philitalia. I know it's Severio, the Nestigo family. They're great people. So yeah, it sounds like you're plugged in pretty with
Yeah.
the most important people in Philly.
I'm trying. And I've always wanted to do the Ninth Street Festival, but I don't know anyone who's booking that. So maybe you can help me with that one.
Yeah, I can send you the email the person who does that.
That would be
Um,
amazing.
so listen, I mean, my daughter, she's 10, and she enjoys playing the piano and singing. And when you mentioned
Wonderful.
how she's so cute too, she's really good at it. And she's a hard little worker, and she downloads her music sheets and she does everything
Good.
herself. So
That's amazing.
when you're talking, I'm thinking of my daughter. I'm saying, wow, that probably could be her. So I think I should probably get her in some more plays. She actually been in a few. She's done Annie. She was Annie
Oh,
in Annie.
oh, wonderful. That's amazing. Yeah, like I guess what I would love to share with like the younger aspiring musicians is um go for it, because a lot of people think, "Oh, well, I can't be Britney Spears, or I don't have connections, or I'm not going to be famous." But first of all, you never know. You could be famous. And even if you're not famous, you can still have a very fulfilling, stable career in the music field. Like I think a lot of people just assume like you're either famous or you're nothing, but that's not true. Like you can have a very decent career as a small artist. So
Well, that's true, and I think that as a smaller artist, you probably are able to have more say in your own life. I mean, once you get to a certain level, I don't think they.
yes,
I mean, yes, they're famous. Yes, they have a ton of money and all the things that go along with fame. But I don't think they control a lot of their career at all.
it's true. It's true. They're very managed, and so there's a pro and con to doing everything yourself. But the the pro is you have control over everything. The con is you are the CEO and you're also the administrative assistant. So,
Right. There's no shortcuts, but do what you
exactly.
can.
Yeah.
What would you like to see yourself in 10, 15, 20 years from now?
Oh man, so I would love to just be more well known in the Italian American and jazz community, to still be performing at 50 or more, performances per year, um, and to be making more wonderful music. Like I don't have grand goals of being like famous or anything. I just want to keep living a beautiful life of music. Really, that's my goal.
Well, look, I mean, again, I think it's a beautiful thing that you're able to do what you love. So little of us out there are able to do that. But again, I think I mean, you would be the one to recommend it, but it sounds like to me, start out small, make it digestible in your own personal life, and
Hmm.
just use your free time to chase your dreams, and you never know.
Exactly, exactly. And I mean, to be honest, like if I could start all over again, I would go whole hog from day one, and I'd go to school for business. Go to school for music. Probably like a double major in jazz and music business. um, but like our parents didn't. The Italian American parents don't often view music as a real career, and so they didn't have the tools to like know how to guide me. But if I have a child who wants a career in music, that's how I would guide them.
And I think it's entertainment in general because there was a story which is really
Yes.
funny to me with Frank Capra, right? The legendary filmmaker
Yeah.
from Wizard of Oz and so many others. It's a Wonderful Life. So Frank Capra had an interview where he said when he first, like, I forget which movie it was. It might have been It's a Wonderful Life, but when he first did it, he told his mother about it, and she just looked at him and said, "Well, when you want to get a real job?" So
Oh my God,
it
it's true.
it never really computed. It never really occurred that it's not just a job; it's an amazing job, but the Italian American thing, which is a good thing. Let me just make sure I'm being clear with this. It is a good thing that our parents, grandparents, that they wanted us to do something really significant and stable. And the key word is stable, just so we wouldn't have to suffer like they or their parents did. Because let's face it, I
Yeah.
mean, they went through some, as I'm sure you know, and you've heard the stories. I mean, there was a time where they couldn't. I mean, our grandparents, great grandparents, they couldn't read or write. They may not even had shoes. I mean, that's how bad it was back in the old days.
Absolutely, absolutely. And when you grow up poor, like my parents did, like my grandparents did, they can't imagine like doing something that doesn't deliver like a routine paycheck, you know? And they also didn't want me to be dependent on a man or anything like that, which I totally understand. But these days, to be honest, like nothing's stable anymore. That's the thing. It's like not even corporate America is stable. You can get laid off, in one of the many like layoffs that they have, just to make the numbers for the street, um, and happiness is paramount over money. Is I think that's they were very focused on money and they felt that money might yield happiness, but it doesn't. Like I made a lot of money working at PepsiCo and I was not happy. So you gotta go for what's in your heart and what you're like meant to do on this earth. Like what your body is telling you and your heart and your soul is telling you is like meant for you.
Yeah, and that's where intuition comes in, and like you said,
Yeah.
that little voice maybe, or your inclinations, and that's yeah, man, absolutely. And I think that's we are, let's face it, I guess it still is the land of opportunity. So, and there's so many ways to
That's true.
make it these days. I mean, look, I mean, I'm sure,
Exactly.
I couldn't be doing this with you, 15, 20 years ago.
Right, right, right.
The advance in technology, the way networking is, the way social media. I mean, social media. If you have a little bit of talent, you can really run with it. And with music, I mean, there's so many avenues. You could do your own music. You don't have to wait for some, big
Right.
lofty producer or somebody from a big, music industry person to come and pick you up. You could do your own thing and kind of guide your own destiny.
Exactly, exactly. That's the beauty of it. Even though it is scary, but I'm happy I did it. So, if I have children one day, I can guide them in the unknown land of entrepreneurship.
It's
you
a
know?
beautiful thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I guess we're going to wrap it up soon, but I would love for you to tell the guests that are listening to this that maybe kind of on the fence, they're inspired by you, but they're a little bit scared. What advice do you have for the person? And that could be a person of
Yeah.
any age, by the way. That could
Yeah,
be,
yeah, yeah.
young or older or whatever. But what advice would you give that person who's kind of still on the fence, doesn't a little scared to get their put their toes in the water?
In terms of a life of entertainment or
Yeah.
music. Yeah, just start doing it because in this type of world, if you spend so much time thinking, you're gonna like talk yourself out of it. But if you start doing it, you'll start to see how you feel when you do it. If you're gonna get bookings, you start to put the pieces together. Just start. I'm happy to also like chat with anybody as well. Like if anybody needs some assistance or help. I actually did a webinar on like when to quit your day job for jazzvoice.com. And once you start booking, having like, enough bookings to cover your bills, I think you can, confidently quit your day job. But don't spend too much time in your thoughts and just start.
Right. The analysis paralysis, as they call it. Don't overthink it.
Yes, exactly, exactly. Like, should I
Measure,
do this? What will people think? Just do it. And then you'll find out because it's never going to be perfect the first time anyway. It's always an iterative process, like, and then put something out there, see how people react, and then improve next time. Take the feedback and then do something different. You know what I mean? Like, what a lot of artists are doing these days are just releasing singles and seeing how people react to it versus doing a full album and say, okay, what do people like about it? What do people don't? And then they'll try with another single. And then if they get better reception, then they'll maybe go that route for a full compilation of songs. But yeah, just start is my advice.
Maybe a good metaphor as you're saying that comes to mind is it's almost like a person who could be a really great chef, but they're only making that one hamburger as opposed to putting a full menu out. This way people could try different things.
Yes, exactly. Oh, that's a very, very good analogy. I like that. Yeah. If you like the hamburger, then you're going to like the other stuff,
Right. But some people may not like the hamburger, but they may love the pizza. So
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
okay, so I mean, I think that's about all. I would have to say that, and I heard you in person. I love your voice. You're an
Thank
excellent
you.
performer. You everything. I mean, you're a consummate performer, and you're very good. And I really enjoyed your performance. And I would
Thank you so
recommend
much.
everybody go and see it. Now, what's coming up in February, March? Any shows you want to plug?
Yes, I've got some fun stuff coming up. Thursday, February 29th, I was invited to do a Harry Warren tribute. So Harry Warren is one of the great Italian Americans who contributed so many songs to our Great American Songbook. At Last, I Only Have Eyes for You, September in the Rain, Chattanooga Choo Choo, Jeepers Creepers, the list goes on and on. You Must Have Been a Beautiful Baby, Lullaby of Broadway, yada, yada, yada. So we're doing an evening of Harry Warren with the Tin Pan Alley Society at the Columbus Citizens Foundation in New York City. And then Saturday, March 2nd and Sunday, March 3rd, I will be going to New Orleans. So I love New Orleans. It's such a jazzy Italian town, it's like my favorite place to be. So I'll be there at the Kenner Italian Festivals, March 2nd and 3rd. Come and check me out. Saturday, March 9th, I'm producing a Festa della Donna at the Columbus Citizens Foundation, the Festival of the Woman, to celebrate Italian-American females in the arts. So I'll be singing, thank you very much. I'll have an opera singers, dancers, comedians, spoken word. It'll be a beautiful evening of donne to celebrate. And then what else? I won't read you my full schedule, but my full schedule you can find out on vanessaracci.com. But the last thing I'll say is April 18th, I was invited to sing at the National Italian American Foundation New York City Gala at Cipriani in New York City. So I'm super excited because I've never been to Cipriani's before because I can't afford it. But and I've never performed there, so I'm really really excited.
That's amazing. Good for you. Very, very well deserved. I'm very happy for you.
Thank you. Thank you so
Well,
much.
what we'll do too is we'll make sure we'll have links. Just make sure we check the description box. We'll have links to everything where they can find you, and then some upcoming
Sure.
stuff.
Oh, and
And
last thing, listen to Jazzy Italian on Spotify or wherever you stream music. You can just find me, Vanessa Racci, Jazzy Italian. I'm on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, wherever. Just find me and take a listen.
absolutely, please, all you listening out there, make sure you do that. Support her. She's on Instagram. She's on social media. Follow her everywhere,
Thank
and
you.
you won't regret it. And one last
Aw.
message I have for all the Italian guys out there, when especially old ones, so when you see her in person, don't try to get her in a lip lock. All right, behave yourself.
Thank you.
No
Thank
fare,
you. You know what,
no
my
fare, no fare strunzi. All right.
thank you very much. You don't want my husband to knock you out, you know.
You may have to put on like a face mask after your performance. Um,
Exactly.
well, Vanessa, it's been to say it was a pleasure is an understatement. It's been wonderful. I can't wait. Maybe in the future we're gonna have you on again.
Likewise.
And
Yeah.
in the meantime, again, everyone, please make sure you follow Vanessa Racci and all her beautiful music. And please, if you don't mind, subscribe to my channel and follow her at all her events. And Vanessa, what else can I say? But thank you very much. Any last words for the guests?
Thank you, Vinny. This was amazing. I'm so glad to have met you, and thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. We'll see you again soon. Guys, thank you. And we will see you in the next episode.
Ciao.